The Mafia boss drove to his safe house at 4 a.m. expecting a kidnapping. Instead, he found the babysitter's teenage daughter clutching his crying baby, begging him not to call the police. What she told him next made him realize his most trusted man had betrayed him, and this scared girl had just saved his son's life. Dante Vescari's phone screamed at 4:03 a.m. Not his business line. Not the encrypted cell his lieutenants used. The monitor, the one hardwired to his son's nursery at the safe house 15 miles outside the city. The audio feed crackled with crying. Desperate, raw, the kind that meant something was wrong. Dante was already moving. He didn't bother with a shirt, just grabbed his Glock from the nightstand and the keys to the Audi. His penthouse door slammed behind him hard enough to wake the building. The safe house wasn't supposed to need monitoring. It was a fortress. Bulletproof glass, reinforced steel doors, surrounded by woods thick enough to hide an army. Only 5 people knew the location. His son, Marco, stayed there with a rotating team of trusted caregivers while Dante handled the uglier parts of running the city's most powerful crime family. The roads were empty at this hour. Dante pushed the Audi to 90, then 100. His mind ran through scenarios.
Kidnapping.
Rival families. A double cross from someone inside his circle. If anyone touched his son, they'd beg for death long before he granted it. The gate was open when he arrived. That was wrong. That was very wrong. Dante killed the engine and pulled his gun. The house sat dark except for a single light in the nursery window upstairs. No guards at the perimeter. No one at the door. He moved fast and silent, the way his father taught him before the old man took a bullet meant for someone else. The front door hung ajar. Inside, the air felt thick wrong. A lamp had been knocked over in the hallway. Baby bottles scattered across the kitchen counter. The crying upstairs had stopped. Dante took the stairs 3 at a time, gun raised, finger on the trigger. The nursery door was cracked open. He kicked it wide and swept the room with his weapon. A girl screamed. She couldn't have been more than 16, 17 maybe. Dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail, wearing jeans and an oversized hoodie. She sat in the corner clutching Marco against her chest, eyes wide with terror. "Please don't shoot," she whispered. "Please, I can explain." "Where's Elena?" Dante's voice came out cold, controlled. Elena was the night caregiver. The one who should have been here. I don't know, the girl's voice cracked. "Please, just listen. Put my son down." Slowly. "He's scared," she said, and her arms tightened around Marco. "He's been crying for hours. I couldn't leave him alone. I didn't know what else to do." Dante lowered the gun slightly, just enough to think. Marco had stopped crying, his tiny fist wrapped around the girl's finger. The baby looked fine. No injuries. No distress beyond exhaustion. "Who are you?"
Mia.
"Mia Santos," she swallowed hard. "Elena's my mom." That stopped him. Elena had worked for Dante for 6 months. Reliable, thorough, never asked questions. She'd mentioned having a daughter once, briefly, in passing. He hadn't cared enough to remember details. "Why are you here? Where's your mother?" "I don't know." Tears started streaming down Mia's face. "She's been missing for 2 days. She didn't come home Thursday night. She won't answer her phone. I waited, but she never came back, and I didn't know what to do, and I thought maybe she was here, but when I got here she was gone, and the baby was alone and crying and—" "Stop," Dante raised his hand. His head was spinning, pieces clicking together in ways that made his blood run cold. "You're telling me my son has been alone for 2 days?"
No.
"I got here yesterday morning. I've been taking care of him." I swear, Mia's words tumbled out faster now. "I fed him, changed him. I did everything right. But I ran out of formula tonight, and I didn't have money for more, and I couldn't leave him to go get it, and he wouldn't stop crying." Dante stepped closer. Mia flinched but didn't move. Marco gazed up at her with heavy eyelids, clearly exhausted. "How did you find this place?" Mom kept an address in her car. Hidden in the glove box, Mia's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Please don't call the police. Please. If you call them, they'll find out about you, and then people will come after us." After me. I know how this works. I've seen the movies. Despite everything, Dante almost laughed. Movies. This kid thought she understood his world from movies. But she was right about one thing. The police couldn't be involved. Not in his life. Not ever. He holstered his gun and crossed the room, reaching for Marco. Mia hesitated, then carefully passed the baby over. Dante held his son close, breathing in that clean, innocent smell. Marco nuzzled against his chest and yawned. You've been here alone with my son for 36 hours, Dante said slowly. And you didn't call anyone? Didn't tell anyone where you were? I was scared, Mia's voice broke. I thought if I told someone, you'd think Mom abandoned him. That you'd hurt us. I needed time to figure out what happened to her. Dante studied the girl. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking. But Marco was clean, warm, clearly cared for. The nursery showed signs of desperate attempts at organization. Burp cloths folded neatly, diapers stacked by the changing table, bottles washed and drying by the sink. She'd been trying. Really trying. Did you skip school to be here?
Mia nodded miserably.
For how long? Since Friday morning. 3 days. This kid had essentially dropped out of her life to protect his son. Dante walked to the window and looked out at the darkness. Dawn would break in an hour. He needed to think. Elena was missing, had been missing for days without him knowing. That meant his security was compromised. Either she'd run, which made no sense, or someone had taken her. And if someone had taken her, they knew about this location. About Marco. Mia, he turned back to her. I need you to tell me everything. Every detail about the last time you saw your mother. What she said, where she went, anything unusual. Can you do that? The girl nodded, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. Good, Dante shifted Marco in his arms. Because if someone took Elena, they're coming for my son next. And I need to know why you were brave enough, or stupid enough, to put yourself between them and him. Mia stood slowly, wrapping her arms around herself. I couldn't let him get hurt. He's just a baby. Dante looked at her for a long moment. In his world, loyalty was currency. Trust was rare. Most people ran when things got dangerous. But this scared teenage girl had walked straight into the lion's den to save a child that wasn't hers. That kind of courage was either going to save them all or get them all killed. Dante laid Marco in his crib and watched the baby's eyes finally close. The exhaustion caught up fast. Within seconds, his son was breathing deeply, little fists curled against his chest. When did you last eat? Dante asked without turning around. Mia's voice came out small. Yesterday. I think. There were crackers in the pantry. He gestured toward the door. Kitchen.
Now.
They moved downstairs in silence. Dante flipped on the lights and pulled out bread, cold cuts, cheese from the industrial-sized refrigerator. His hands moved on autopilot while his mind worked through the problem. Elena missing. The safe house compromised. His son left vulnerable. Someone was going to die for this. Mia sat at the kitchen island, her fingers drumming nervously against the marble countertop. She looked even younger under the bright lights, a kid playing dress-up in an adult's nightmare. Start talking, Dante said, sliding a sandwich across to her. Thursday night. What happened? Mia grabbed the sandwich, but didn't eat it immediately. Mom left for work around 6 p.m. She always worked the night shift here, Thursday to Sunday, 8-hour rotations. She texted me around 9 saying everything was fine, that she'd see me in the morning. Show me. Mia pulled out her phone with shaking hands and scrolled through messages. Dante leaned over, reading the thread. Mom. All good here. Baby's sleeping. Did you finish your homework? Mia. Yes. Spanish essay is done. Love you. Mom. Love you too, sweetheart. Don't wait up. That was it. The last message at 9:14 p.m. on Thursday. She never came home Friday morning, Mia continued. I called her phone, it went straight to voicemail. I waited all day thinking maybe she picked up an extra shift or something. But she always tells me. Always. What about Friday night? I called the hospital first, thinking maybe there was an accident. Nothing. Then I drove to her usual route home, looking for a car. Found it Saturday morning in the grocery store parking lot near our apartment. Mia finally took a bite of the sandwich, chewing mechanically. That's when I knew something was really wrong. Mom wouldn't just leave her car. Dante's jaw tightened. You searched it?
Yeah.
Everything was still inside. Her purse, her wallet, even her coffee mug and the cup holder. But her phone was dead, and the glove box was open. That's where she kept the address to this place. Mia looked up at him, eyes red-rimmed. She wrote it on a piece of paper with instructions. Said if anything ever happened to her, I should come here. That you'd know what to do. That didn't make sense. Elena was careful, professional. Why would she give her daughter an escape plan that led directly to him? Unless she knew something was coming. Did your mother seem scared recently? Acting different. Mia thought about it, then nodded slowly. The past few weeks, yeah. She checked the locks twice before bed. Started parking in different spots every day. I asked her about it, but she said it was nothing, just being cautious. Did she mention anyone following her? Strange phone calls. No, but Mia hesitated. Her phone rang a lot more than usual. Always numbers she didn't recognize. She'd step outside to answer them, and when she came back in, she'd look stressed. I figured it was work stuff. Your people calling about schedules or whatever. Dante's mind raced. Elena had been receiving threats. Had to be. Someone pressuring her, and she'd kept quiet to protect her daughter, or to protect his son. Where's her car now? Still at the grocery store, I think. I took the bus here. You took a bus to a secret location? Dante's voice rose despite himself. I didn't know what else to do. Mia shot back, some fire finally entering her voice. Mom was gone, your baby was alone, and I couldn't just leave him there crying. So yeah, I took 3 buses and walked 2 miles through the woods following Google Maps until I found this place. What was I supposed to do? Call the cops and tell them a Mafia boss's kid needed a babysitter? The girl had more backbone than he'd given her credit for. Dante pulled out his phone and texted Leon, his fixer. 3 words, need you. Safe house.
Now.
Here's what's going to happen, Dante said, his voice cold and controlled again. My people are going to retrieve your mother's car and sweep it for evidence. You're going to give me every detail you can remember about the last month, everyone she talked to, everywhere she went, every single thing that seemed off. And then what? Mia's voice cracked. You find out who took her and kill them? Yes. The blunt honesty seemed to shock her into silence. But first, Dante continued, walking to the security panel hidden behind a false cabinet. I need to check something. He pulled up the digital logs, scrolling through days of footage and entry records. Thursday night showed Elena arriving at 5:47 p.m. The cameras tracked her moving through the house, feeding Marco, settling him down for the night. Then at 11:32 p.m., the feeds cut to static for exactly 4 minutes. When they came back online, Elena was gone. Marco was alone in his crib. And the back door, the one that required a 6-digit code only 5 people knew, stood wide open. Dante's blood turned to ice. What is it? Mia asked, reading his expression. He turned to face her, and for the first time in years, Dante Vescari felt something close to fear. Someone on the inside helped take your mother, he said quietly. And they wanted my son left alone for a reason. Leon arrived 40 minutes later, moving through the safe house like a ghost. He was a thin man with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Dante's fixer, investigator, and occasionally his conscience. Boss, Leon nodded at Dante, then glanced at Mia with barely concealed curiosity. Didn't know we were expecting company. Elena's daughter. The caregiver's missing. Dante gestured toward his office down the hall. Mia, stay here. Don't touch anything. Don't go anywhere. Mia opened her mouth to argue, but seemed to think better of it. She nodded and sank deeper into the kitchen chair, exhaustion finally claiming her features. Inside the office, Dante pulled up the security footage on his laptop, showing Leon the 4-minute blackout. Leon's face remained impassive, but his fingers drummed against his thigh, a tell Dante had learned meant the man was deeply concerned. Professional work. They knew exactly how long they needed. The backdoor code was used. No signs of forced entry. So, we've got a leak. Leon lit a cigarette despite the no-smoking rule. How many people know this location?
5.
You, me, my brother Marcus, Elena, and Tony from my security detail. Tony's been with you for 12 years. Marcus is blood. Elena's missing, which either makes her victim or accomplice. Leon blew smoke toward the ceiling. That leaves me, and I promise you, boss, I didn't kidnap your babysitter. I know, Dante rubbed his temples. A headache was building behind his eyes. Which means someone else got to the code. Elena might have given it up under duress, or someone's been watching longer than we thought. The implications settled over them like a heavy fog. If his inner circle was compromised, everything was vulnerable. His businesses, his operations, his son. I need you to find Elena's car, Dante said. Grocery store parking, lot on Henderson Street. Bring it here intact. I want every inch of it processed. Leon stubbed out his cigarette. Consider it done. What about the girl? She stays with me for now. If someone's after Elena, Mia's leverage. Or a liability. She kept my son alive for 36 hours when everyone else failed. Dante's voice went cold. She's earned temporary protection. Leon raised his hands in surrender. Your call, boss. I'll have the car here in 2 hours. After Leon left, Dante returned to the kitchen. Mia had her head down on the counter, eyes closed but not sleeping. Her shoulders were too tense, breathing too irregular. You can rest upstairs, Dante offered. Guest rooms at the end of the hall. I'm fine here. You're not. You look like you're about to collapse. Mia lifted her head. Did he find anything? That man who just left. He's retrieving your mother's car. We'll know more soon. You still think she's alive? The question hung in the air. Dante had learned not to give people false hope. It made the eventual truth hurt worse. But something about the way Mia looked at him, desperate and young and terrified, made him choose his words carefully. I think whoever took her wants something. Dead hostages have no value. It wasn't quite a lie. Mia nodded slowly, processing this. There's something else. Something I didn't mention before. Dante's attention sharpened. What? When I found Mom's car, her phone was wedged under the driver's seat. Like she'd dropped it or hidden it, Mia reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a smartphone with a cracked screen. It's locked. I tried my birthday, every combination I could think of. Nothing worked. Dante took the phone carefully, turning it over in his hands. An iPhone, older model, the battery completely dead. He walked back to his office and plugged it into a charging cable. The screen remained black for a long moment, then flickered to life with 1% battery. The lock screen showed 23 missed calls from a block number. 17 text messages from Mia, increasingly frantic. I need the passcode, Dante said. I told you, I don't know it. He pulled open a drawer and retrieved a small device, a bypass tool one of his tech guys had acquired from a less-than-legal source. It took 3 minutes of nerve-wracking silence before the lock screen dissolved. Dante opened the messaging app first. Nothing unusual. Conversations with Mia, a few friends, some automated alerts from the bank. Then he opened the drafts folder. One message. Unsent. No recipient entered. They want the baby. Don't go home. The timestamp showed Thursday night at 11:28 p.m., 4 minutes before the security feed went dark. Dante's hands tightened around the phone. Elena had known. She'd known they were coming and she'd tried to warn someone. But who? And why hadn't she sent it? What does it say? Mia's voice came from the doorway. She'd followed him despite his instructions. Dante turned the phone around, showing her the screen. The color drained from Mia's face. They want Marco?
Why?
Leverage. Ransom. A dozen reasons. Dante's mind was already running through scenarios. Or, they want to hurt me by taking the one thing I actually care about. But Mom stopped them. Mia's voice grew stronger. She hid him somewhere safe first, right? That's why the address was in her car. She was making sure I could find him if something happened to her. Dante looked at the girl with new understanding. Elena hadn't just been scared. She'd been preparing. Creating contingencies. making sure her daughter knew where to go when everything went wrong. The babysitter had been protecting his son until the very end. Boss. Leon's voice carried from the front entrance. You need to see this.
Now.
Dante and Mia rushed to the foyer. Leon stood in the doorway, dirt on his jacket, expression grim. In his hands, he held a small cardboard box. Found this in the trunk of Elena's car, Leon said quietly. Hidden under the spare tire. Dante opened the box. Inside, 3 containers of baby formula, a burp cloth, and a Ziploc bag containing a cotton swab with dried blood on the tip. And underneath it all, a single photograph. Marco's nursery. Taken from inside the safe house. Time-stamped 2 weeks ago. Someone had been inside their fortress, documenting everything, planning this for weeks. And Elena had known the whole time. The basement of Dante's club in the city felt like a tomb, concrete walls, steel-reinforced door, soundproofing that could swallow screams. His lieutenants called it the vault. Everyone else called it the place where problems disappeared.
Right now, it was a war room.
6 men sat around a circular table, each representing a different arm of Dante's operation. Marcus Vescari, Dante's younger brother, handled the legitimate businesses, the front companies that kept money clean. Vincent Vinny Caruso ran enforcement. Fat Tommy oversaw the gambling operations. Ray Costello managed the docks. Antonio Tony Russo controlled security. And Paolo Benedetti, the family's accountant for 20 years, kept the books balanced. Leon stood in the corner, arms crossed, watching everything. Dante hadn't slept. Neither had Mia, who he'd left at the safe house under Leon's guard while he drove into the city. The photograph burned in his pocket like a hot coal. Someone at this table might be the leak. Trust no one. His father's first lesson. Gentlemen, Dante began, his voice cutting through the murmured conversations. We have a problem. He slid the photograph across the table. It made its way around the circle, each man's face growing darker as they studied it. This was taken inside the safe house 2 weeks ago, Dante continued. The same safe house only 6 people know about. 3 nights ago, someone used the access code to enter, disable our security for exactly 4 minutes, and take my son's caregiver. She's been missing for 72 hours. Madonna, Fat Tommy breathed. Who knew about this? That's what we're here to determine. Marcus leaned forward, his younger face a sharper version of Dante's own. You're saying it's one of us. I'm saying someone sold us out. Whether they're sitting at this table or they compromise someone who is. Vinny slammed his fist down. This is insulting. We've bled for this family. And someone's bleeding us now. Dante interrupted coldly. My son was left alone for 36 hours. If Elena's daughter hadn't found him, he might be dead or gone. So yes, Vinny, I'm going to insult everyone until I find out who's responsible. Tony, the security chief, cleared his throat. He was a mountain of a man, 6'4", and solid muscle. Boss, what about the girl? Elena's daughter. How do we know she's not involved? She's 16 years old and spent 3 days taking care of my son with no help. She had every opportunity to harm him or run. She did neither. Or it's a long con, Paolo said quietly. The accountant was small, precise, the kind of man who noticed everything and said little. Girl plays hero, earns your trust, then feeds information back to whoever took the mother. Classic infiltration. Dante had considered this, dismissed it, but he couldn't ignore Paolo's point entirely. The girl's clean. Leon spoke up from his corner. I ran her background this morning. Honor student, works part-time at a bookstore. No criminal record, no suspicious associations. She's exactly what she appears to be. A scared kid trying to save her mother. Then she's a liability, Vinny growled. She knows about the safe house. Knows the baby. Knows us. We should eliminate her before she becomes a problem. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Dante stood slowly, buttoning his suit jacket. Let me be very clear. The girl is under my personal protection. Anyone who touches her answers to me. Understood? Vinny met his eyes but said nothing. Around the table, heads nodded, some reluctant, some simply acknowledging reality. Marcus broke the tension. What about ransom demands? Have they contacted you? Not yet, which concerns me more than if they had. Why? Fat Tommy asked. Because it means they don't want money. Dante pulled out Elena's phone and placed it on the table. This belonged to the caregiver. Found in her car. There's an unsent message that says they want the baby. Don't go home. Ray Costello, who'd been silent until now, leaned forward. His weathered face showed decades of violence and hard choices. Who's they? You got enemies, boss, but nobody's stupid enough to come after your kid. That's a death sentence. Unless they think I'm vulnerable, Dante said. My father's old rivals have been quiet for years. Too quiet. Carmine Rossetti went underground after I exiled him. No one's heard from him in 18 months. The Colombo family's been sniffing around our dock operations. The Russians keep pushing into our territory. Take your pick. Paolo adjusted his glasses. If I may, boss, taking a child requires planning, resources, inside information. This isn't some street crew trying to make a name. This is calculated. Professional. Agreed. Which brings us back to how they got inside information. Dante's gaze swept the table. I want everyone's communications audited. Phone records, emails, meetings, everything from the past 6 months. No exceptions. You can't be serious, Tony protested. That's our privacy. Privacy died when someone photographed my son's nursery. Dante's voice cracked like a whip. Every single one of you will submit to a full investigation or you're out. Your choice. Silence fell like a hammer. Marcus spoke carefully. Brother, you know I'm with you. But asking the council to open their books, their lives, it'll look like weakness. Like you don't trust the people who've kept this family strong. I don't trust anyone right now. Then you're already losing, Vinny said flatly. Respect and trust are the foundation of everything we've built. You tear that down over some babysitter and her kid, you're inviting chaos. The other families will see it. They'll smell blood in the water. Let them smell it, Dante's voice went deadly quiet. While they're circling, I'll be hunting. And when I find who took Elena, when I find who threatened my son, I'm going to make an example so brutal that no one will ever question my strength again. Fat Tommy shifted uncomfortably. What about the girl? The daughter? Where is she now? Safe house. Under guard. And if someone comes for her, Dante met each man's eyes in turn. Then they'll learn that I protect what's mine. Elena kept my son alive when my own security failed. Her daughter did the same. That kind of loyalty is worth more than all of you combined right now. The words hung in the air like an accusation. Marcus stood, placing a hand on Dante's shoulder. We'll find who did this, brother. I swear it.
But you need to rest.
You've been up for 24 hours straight. You can't think clearly when you're running on rage and coffee. I'll rest when my son is safe. Your son is safe. You moved him to the downtown penthouse with a dozen guards. The girl's at the safe house with Leon. You've locked down every entrance to our operations. Now you need to step back and let us work. Dante wanted to argue, wanted to tear the city apart brick by brick until he found answers. But Marcus was right. Exhaustion was making him sloppy, paranoid.
Fine.
Council's dismissed. But I want daily reports. Every lead, every suspicion, every whisper on the street. Someone knows something, and I will find them. The men filed out slowly, whispering among themselves. Vinny shot Dante a look that could have curdled milk. Paolo lingered by the door, as if wanting to say something, then thought better of it and left. Only Marcus and Leon remained. You made enemies today, Marcus said quietly. I already had enemies. Now they know I'm looking. Leon lit another cigarette. For what it's worth, boss, you made the right call. Protecting the girl sends a message. Loyalty matters more than bloodline. I hope you're right. Dante sank into a chair, suddenly feeling every hour of lost sleep. Because if I'm wrong about her, if this is some elaborate setup, I just gave our enemies exactly what they wanted. What's that? Marcus asked. Proof that Dante Vescari can be manipulated through his emotions. And in his world, emotions were the fastest way to die. Leon found the car at 3 a.m. in an area of the city where streetlights went dark and questions went unanswered. The industrial wasteland near the old auto district, where abandoned factories stood like tombstones to a different era. Elena's Toyota sat behind a gutted repair shop, hidden from the main road by rusted shipping containers and overgrown weeds. Someone had wanted it found eventually, just not too quickly. Leon circled the vehicle twice before approaching, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. No signs of tampering on the exterior. No broken glass. The doors were unlocked. He pulled on latex gloves and opened the driver's side door. The interior light didn't work. Battery was probably dead. His flashlight revealed what Mia had described. Purse on the passenger seat, wallet inside with cash and credit cards intact. Coffee mug in the holder, lipstick stains still visible on the rim. But it was the trunk that made his blood run cold. Leon popped it open and swept his light across the contents. The spare tire had been moved, placed back incorrectly, the valve stem facing the wrong direction. Beneath it, marks in the carpet showed where something heavy had rested. The cardboard box he'd already recovered. But there was something else. A dark stain, roughly the size of a dinner plate, soaked into the carpet near the back of the trunk. Leon touched it carefully, still slightly tacky, not fully dried. He scraped a sample into an evidence bag.
Blood. Had to be.
His phone buzzed.
Dante.
Tell me something useful. The boss's voice came through, rough with exhaustion. Found the car. You're not going to like this. I haven't liked anything in the past 3 days. Keep talking. Leon described the scene, the blood, the deliberate staging. This wasn't random, boss. They parked it in Rossetti territory, right on the border between his old crew's operations and the neutral zone. Silence on the other end. Then, Carmine. That's my read. He's sending a message. I can reach your people anywhere. It's textbook intimidation. Carmine's been quiet for 18 months. Why surface now? Maybe he's been planning for 18 months. Leon photographed the trunk from multiple angles. You exiled him, took his income streams, turned his own soldiers against him. Man like that doesn't forget. He waits. If this is Carmine, he's got backing. He can't pull something like this alone. Agreed. I'll have the car towed to our shop, get forensics on everything. But boss, there's something else. What? The security cameras here, they're not working. Smashed 2 days ago according to the timestamp on the city maintenance report. Someone made sure there'd be no footage of who dumped the car. Dante swore quietly. How long until you can process the vehicle? Give me 6 hours. I've got a guy who used to work crime scene investigation before he decided government pay wasn't worth the hassle. Make it 4 hours. I want answers before sunrise. The call ended. Leon arranged for the tow truck, then started canvassing the area. 3 blocks away, he found a security camera on a warehouse that was still operational, its red light blinking faithfully. 20 minutes and $200 in cash convinced the night security guard to let him review the footage.
There.
Thursday night, 11:47 p.m. Elena's Toyota drove past, but Elena wasn't driving. 2 figures in the front seats, both wearing dark clothes and baseball caps pulled low. The driver's build suggested male, average height. The passenger was bigger, broader. The car turned toward the industrial district and disappeared from frame. Leon kept scrolling. At 12:03 a.m., a white cargo van followed the same route. No plates visible. They'd been removed or covered. At 12:15 a.m., the van returned, moving faster. Still no plates. The Toyota never came back out. Leon copied the footage to a flash drive and headed to the warehouse where Dante's forensics guy operated. Jimmy Falcone had spent 15 years with the NYPD before a gambling problem and a tendency to accept bribes made him a liability. Now he worked for people who appreciated his skills and didn't ask where he learned them. Late-night delivery? Jimmy asked, already pulling on his own gloves as the tow truck backed Elena's car into the garage bay. The boss wants everything. Prints, DNA, trace evidence. Anything that tells us who was in this vehicle and where they took the driver. Jimmy whistled low. This about that missing babysitter? Word's already spreading through the network. Word travels too damn fast. It's a small world, Leon. Especially when a civilian disappears from under Dante Vescari's protection. Jimmy opened the trunk and immediately spotted the blood stain. Well, this complicates things. She might not be alive. Process it anyway. For the next 3 hours, Leon watched Jimmy work with the methodical precision of a man who'd done this 1,000 times. Fingerprints lifted from the steering wheel, door handles, trunk release. Hair samples collected from a headrest. The blood stain carefully excised and prepared for analysis. At 6:47 a.m., Jimmy pulled off his gloves and looked at Leon with a grim expression. Got good news and bad news. Good news. Prints everywhere. At least 3 different people were in this car recently. Elena, someone else with smaller hands, probably her daughter, and a third person. Male, based on the print size and patterns. The bad news. The blood's definitely human, and there's enough of it to indicate injury. Not life-threatening necessarily, but someone got hurt. Also found these. Jimmy held up a pair of zip tie fragments. Cut marks suggest they were used as restraints, then removed with a knife or wire cutters. Leon felt his jaw tighten. So they grabbed her, restrained her, someone bled, maybe she fought back, and they transported her in her own trunk. That's my assessment. There's also fabric fibers that don't match anything in the car's interior. Industrial canvas, the kind used for drop cloths or cargo tarps. And soil samples that don't match the area where you found the car. Can you trace the soil? I can try. Give me another few hours with a microscope and the geological database. But Leon! Jimmy's expression turned serious. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. They cleaned most of the evidence, left just enough to send a message. This is professional work. Leon's phone buzzed. A text from one of Dante's street informants, a kid named Polly, who kept hers open in all the wrong places. Heard something. Guy in a bar last night bragging he helped deliver a package to the old Rossetti warehouse on Pier 19. Said the boss paid big money for special cargo, might be nothing. Leon showed the text to Jimmy. Pier 19. That mean anything to you? Carmine Rossetti used to run smuggling operations out of there before Dante shut him down. Place has been abandoned for over a year. Jimmy paused. You think Carmine's got her? I think Carmine wants us to think he's got her. Whether he actually does, or he's just stirring the pot remains to be seen. Leon pulled out his phone and called Dante. It rang 4 times before the boss answered, voice thick with a few hours of sleep he'd managed. This better be good. Found evidence in the car. Blood, restraint marks, signs of a struggle. Someone transported Elena in her own trunk, then dumped the car in Rossetti territory. And I've got a lead on Pier 19, Carmine's old warehouse. I'm coming to you. Don't move on the warehouse until I get there. Boss, if she's in there. I said wait. If this is Carmine, it's a trap. He wants me to come charging in emotional and stupid. We do this smart or we don't do it at all. The line went dead. Leon looked at the dismantled car, the evidence bags lined up on Jimmy's work table, the dried blood that told a story of violence and fear. Elena Santos had fought back. She'd protected information about Dante's son even while someone hurt her, restrained her, shoved her in a trunk like cargo. That kind of loyalty deserved justice. Or, in Dante's world, something darker, revenge. And if Carmine Rossetti really had orchestrated this, he'd just signed his own death warrant. The only question was how many people would die before Dante was satisfied. Leon lit a cigarette and settled into wait. Dawn was breaking over the city, painting the sky in shades of blood and fire. Fitting, he thought, because before this day ended, someone was going to burn. Dante arrived at the safe house at 8 a.m. to find Mia sitting on the front steps, still wearing the same clothes from 2 days ago. She looked up as his Audi pulled through the gate, her eyes hollow with exhaustion and worry. Any news? She asked before he'd even shut off the engine. We found your mother's car. There's evidence she was taken against her will, but he paused, choosing his words carefully. She's likely still alive. Likely isn't good enough, Mia stood, wrapping her arms around herself against the morning chill. I need to do something. I can't just sit here waiting. You're doing something. You're staying safe so your mother doesn't have to worry about you on top of everything else. That's not enough. Her voice cracked. Please, there has to be something. Maybe there's something at my house, or at school, or… School. Dante's attention sharpened. What about school? Mia hesitated. Then the words tumbled out. Mom kept an emergency bag for me in my locker. She made me promise that if anything ever happened to her, I'd get it first before going anywhere else. She said it had important things inside. Why didn't you mention this before? Because I didn't think about it. I was too focused on finding Marco, and then you showed up, and everything's been crazy. She stopped, breathing hard. But last night I remembered. She gave me the combination 3 weeks ago, made me memorize it. Said it was just in case, but she seemed really serious about it. Dante pulled out his phone. Which school? Lincoln High. But I can't just walk in there. I've been skipping for 3 days. The administration will have questions, maybe even called the police to report me missing. Leave that to me, Dante dialed Marcus. I need you to make a call to Lincoln High School. Principal's name? Mrs. Henderson, Mia supplied. Tell Principal Henderson that Mia Santos has been out sick with her mother's approval, and she'll be returning today to collect some personal items. Make it convincing. Marcus didn't ask questions. Give me 20 minutes. While they waited, Dante studied Mia more carefully. The girl was running on fumes, 3 days of stress, minimal sleep, barely any food. But underneath the exhaustion there was steel. She hadn't broken down, hadn't given up. She was still fighting. Why did your mother work for me? Dante asked suddenly. Mia blinked at the question. Money. Why else? Single mom, daughter heading to college. We needed the income. You paid well for discretion. She could have worked anywhere. Plenty of rich families need housekeepers, nannies. Why take a job with someone like me? Because those other families ask questions. Check references. Run background checks. Mia met his eyes. Mom had a record. Small stuff from when she was younger, shoplifting, a bad boyfriend who got her involved in things. She did her time, got clean, built a new life. But that record meant normal doors stayed closed. You didn't care about her past. You only cared if she could do the job. Dante nodded slowly.
That sounded right.
He'd hired Elena specifically because she needed the work badly enough not to talk. Desperate people were loyal people, as long as you treated them fairly.
His phone rang.
Marcus. All set. Henderson thinks Mia's mother has pneumonia, and Mia was helping care for her. The girl can come by any time today. Thanks, brother. 40 minutes later, Dante pulled into the Lincoln High parking lot. The place was bustling with students arriving for class, backpacks slung over shoulders, clusters of teenagers laughing and shoving each other. Mia shrank down in her seat. Everyone's going to stare. Let them. You're here for 10 minutes, in and out. They entered through the main doors. The security guard barely glanced at them. Dante's expensive suit and confident stride suggested he belonged. They signed in at the front office, where a tired secretary handed Mia a visitor's pass without comment. The hallways were classic American high school, scuffed linoleum, motivational posters, the smell of industrial cleaner and teenage anxiety. Mia led him to her locker on the second floor, glancing around nervously. Locker 247, she whispered, spinning the combination lock. Mom made me practice opening it in under 10 seconds. I thought she was being paranoid. The lock clicked open. The locker was neat, textbooks stacked on the top shelf, a jacket hanging on a hook. But taped to the inside of the door was a small key. Mia peeled it off and looked at Dante. This wasn't here before. What does it open? I don't know. She dug through her backpack next, pulling out folders and binders. Nothing unusual. Then she unzipped the front pocket and froze. What is it? Dante moved closer. Mia pulled out a small USB drive wrapped in a piece of paper. Her hands shook as she unfolded the note. Mia, if you're reading this, something bad has happened. The USB has recordings. They'll explain everything. Don't trust anyone except yourself. I love you so much.
Be brave, Mom.
The handwriting was shaky, rushed. Written by someone who knew time was running out. Dante took the drive carefully.
We need to see what's on this. Now.
They hurried back to the car. Dante pulled out his laptop and plugged in the drive. It contained 3 audio files, each labeled with a date from the past month. He clicked the first one. Static, then Elena's voice, tense and quiet. This is the 3rd call. They're not stopping. I don't know who they are, but they know everything. Marco's schedule, the safe house location, when security rotates. They want me to let them in. To leave the back door unlocked. They said if I don't cooperate, they'll hurt Mia. More static, then a second voice, distorted, mechanical. You have 48 hours, Elena. Give us the schedule and the codes, or your daughter pays the price. We know where she goes to school. We know she works Tuesday nights at the bookstore on 5th. We know she walks home alone. Think about that. The recording ended. Mia had gone white. They threatened me? For weeks. Dante's jaw clenched. He opened the second file. Elena's voice again, shakier now. They called again. I tried going to the police, but I can't. What do I tell them? That I work for the Mafia and someone's threatening us? They'd arrest me, take Mia into custody. I have no proof, no evidence. The calls come from blocked numbers. I'm trapped. A pause then. I think I know who's behind this. The voice is distorted, but there's something familiar in the speech pattern. It sounds like, no, it can't be. But I heard the same phrases, the same way of talking. Dante's accountant, Paolo. He came to the safe house 2 months ago to drop off supplies, and he kept asking about schedules, about security rotations. I thought he was just being thorough, but now. The file ended. Dante's blood turned to ice.
Paolo Benedetti.
20 years with the family. The quiet man who balanced the books and noticed everything. The 3rd file began playing automatically. This is my last recording. They called tonight and said it's happening tomorrow, Thursday night. They want me to disable the security system at 11:30 p.m. and unlock the back door. If I don't, Mia dies. So, I'm going to do it. I'm going to let them in. But I'm also going to hide evidence, leave a trail for someone to follow. If you're hearing this, Mia, I'm sorry. I tried to protect you, and Marco both. I thought I could outsmart them, but I was wrong.
Go to Dante.
He'll know what to do. He's a bad man in a bad world, but he protects his own. Tell him Paolo Benedetti is the leak. Tell him everything. And Mia, don't blame yourself. None of this is your fault. I love you. Silence. Mia was crying now, quiet sobs that shook her shoulders. She knew. She knew they were going to take her, and she did it anyway to save me. Dante sat motionless, his mind racing.
Paolo.
The accountant had access to everything, finances, schedules, property locations, security codes. He'd been in the family for 2 decades, trusted implicitly. And he'd betrayed them all. Dante pulled out his phone and called Leone. Find Paolo Benedetti. Bring him to the vault. If he resists, break whatever you need to break. He's the leak.
Paolo?
Boss, are you sure? I have proof. He's been feeding information to someone, threatening Elena, orchestrating this whole thing. Find him.
Now.
He ended the call and looked at Mia. Your mother saved my son and exposed a traitor. She's braver than half my crew. Will you save her? Mia asked, her voice small and broken.
Please.
She's all I have. Dante started the engine, his expression carved from stone. I'm going to do more than save her, he said quietly. I'm going to make sure everyone involved begs for death long before I grant it. The burner phone rang at 2:47 p.m. Dante stared at it for 3 seconds before answering. The phone had appeared on his desk an hour ago, delivered by an unknown courier to his downtown office. No note, no explanation. Just a cheap prepaid cell wrapped in brown paper. He'd known immediately what it meant. Vescary, his voice was cold, controlled. The voice on the other end came through distorted, run through a modulator that turned human speech into something mechanical and hollow. You've been busy, Dante. asking questions, making threats, scaring my associates. Who is this? A laugh, artificial and grating. Someone who has something you want, or rather someone. Elena Santos sends her regards. Well, she would if she could talk right now. Dante's hand tightened around the phone. Across the room, Leon and Marcus both straightened, reading the tension in his posture. If you've hurt her, you'll what? Hunt me down? Kill me?
Please, Dante.
We both know this isn't about revenge. This is about business. So, let's talk business.
I'm listening. Good.
Here's the deal. You bring me the baby. The real one this time, not a decoy or a doll or whatever clever trick you're planning. You bring Marco Vescari to me, and I'll give you Elena alive and mostly intact. And if I refuse, then I start sending you pieces of her. Fingers first, then toes. We'll work our way up. By the end of the week, you'll have enough parts to almost rebuild her. How does that sound? Dante closed his eyes, forcing down the rage that threatened to cloud his judgment. When and where?
Eager.
I like that. Pier 19, the old Rossetti warehouse. You remember it, don't you? Where you used to store Carmine's imports before you turned on him. Poetic, isn't it? When?
Tonight.
Midnight. Come alone with the baby or come with an army. I don't care. But know this. I have snipers positioned with clear shots of every entrance. I have the building wired with enough explosives to level the block. You try anything clever, and Elena dies screaming. Understood? Understood. Oh, and Dante? Bring the girl too.
Mia.
I want to reunite mother and daughter. It'll be touching. The line went dead. Dante set down the phone and looked at his brother and Leon. They want Marco and Mia. Midnight at Pier 19-inch. Marcus swore. It's a trap. Has to be. They'll take the baby, kill you, and disappear. Obviously, Dante walked to the window, overlooking the city. Somewhere out there, Elena was being held, tortured, used as bait. And somewhere else, probably close by, Paolo Benedetti was counting money and congratulating himself on his betrayal. Leon had found the accountant's apartment empty, his office cleaned out. The man had vanished like smoke. We go in heavy, Leon suggested. 50 men, surround the warehouse, cut off every exit. And they'll detonate the building with Elena inside. Dante shook his head.
No.
We play this carefully. You're not actually considering giving them Marco? Marcus's voice rose. Brother, he's your son. Your heir. You hand him over, you might as well shoot yourself in the head. The family will never respect you again. I'm not giving them Marco. I'm giving them a very convincing alternative. Leon caught on first. A decoy. Again. Better than a decoy. We need something that'll pass close inspection for at least 10 minutes. Long enough to extract Elena and get clear. Dante turned from the window. How long would it take to acquire a similar-aged infant from social services? A child in the system, no family? Boss, you can't be serious, Marcus started. I'm not putting another child in danger. I'm asking how long it would take. Leon shook his head. Too risky. Even with our contacts, grabbing a kid from state custody would take days and leave a trail. We don't have days. Then we use something else. A doll. Weighted properly. Bundled in blankets. It's dark, they'll be focused on containing US, on executing whatever plan they have. We just need it to buy time. Marcus paced the room. And what about Mia? They specifically asked for her. You planning to send a 16-year-old girl into a hostage situation?
No.
I'm planning to hide her somewhere safe while we handle this. She won't agree to that, Leon said quietly. The girl's stubborn. She'll want to be there for her mother. He was right. Dante had left Mia at the safe house with 2 guards, but she'd already tried to leave twice, demanding to help, to do something. The girl had her mother's courage and her mother's foolish sense of sacrifice. Then we don't give her a choice. Dante pulled out his phone. Marcus, I need you to arrange the decoy. Make it perfect, correct weight, wrapped in Marco's actual clothes, so it has a scent. Leon, gather 8 men, our best. No one loyal to Paolo. No one we can't trust, absolutely. We go in at midnight, but I want teams positioned hours earlier. Map every entrance, every sight line, every possible escape route. And you? Marcus asked. I'm going to make a call to an old friend. Dante's smile was cold. Carmine Rossetti operated out of that warehouse for 10 years. If anyone knows its secrets, its vulnerabilities, it's him. Carmine hates you. He'd sooner spit in your face than help. Carmine hates me, yes. But he hates Paolo Benedetti more. Paolo testified against Carmine's operation when I forced him out. Cost Carmine 3 of his best soldiers. Dante dialed a number he'd kept stored for emergencies. The enemy of my enemy is temporarily useful. The phone rang 4 times before a gravelly voice answered. Well. Dante Vescari. I figured you'd call eventually.
Carmine.
I need information. And I need my territory back, my reputation restored, and 10 million in compensation for what you did to me. Funny how we don't always get what we need. Paolo Benedetti is using your old warehouse. He's holding someone there, plans to use it as a trap tonight. I thought you'd want to know that the man who helped destroy you is operating in your former kingdom. Silence. Then, Paolo. That little rat. I should have gutted him when I had the chance. Help me get inside that warehouse alive, and I'll give you something better than territory or money. I'll give you 5 minutes alone with Paolo before I kill him. More silence. Dante could almost hear Carmine calculating, weighing options. What exactly do you need? Blueprints. Service entrances. Weak points in the structure. Anywhere they might be holding a hostage. There's an old storm drain that feeds into the basement. Haven't used it in years, but unless they've sealed it, it's still accessible from the sewer line 2 blocks west. Opens up right beneath the main floor. And the support columns on the east side are compromised. Kicked one myself during a particularly bad night. Hit it hard enough, whole section comes down. Dante memorized every word. Anything else?
Yeah.
Whatever Paolo's planning, it's bigger than you think. That warehouse has good acoustics, sound travels. If he's smart, and unfortunately he is, he'll have people positioned not just inside but in the surrounding buildings. Container yard to the north, the old fish processing plant to the south. You go through the front door, you're walking into a kill box. Noted. Dante? When this is over, you and I still have business. But tonight we're even. You take down Paolo. You're doing the city a favor. Man's poison. The line went dead. Dante looked at his crew. We have a way in. Now we just need to make sure we all walk back out. Marcus stepped forward. Brother, you know this might not work. We might lose Elena. We might lose you. Then we'd better make sure we don't. Dante checked his watch. 8 hours until midnight. 8 hours to prepare for a battle that would either end with justice or end with everything burning down. Get to work, he ordered. And someone tell Mia to stay put. If she argues, lock her in her room. I'm not letting that girl sacrifice herself for anyone, no matter how brave she thinks she is. But even as he said it, Dante knew the truth. Mia was her mother's daughter, and neither of them knew how to quit. The surveillance bin smelled like stale coffee and electronics. Mia sat squeezed between equipment racks, headphones pressed to her ears, watching 3 monitors that showed different angles of the dockside warehouse. Leon sat beside her, his fingers dancing across a laptop keyboard, coordinating teams through encrypted channels. He tried to make her stay at the safe house, but she threatened to steal a car and follow anyway. Finally, Dante had relented. She could watch from the van, but she couldn't leave it under any circumstances. Boss is in position, Leon muttered, watching Dante's heat signature on thermal imaging. East and West teams ready. This is it. Mia's heart hammered. Somewhere in that warehouse, her mother was being held. Hurt. Scared. Waiting for rescue or death. 2 minutes to midnight, Leon announced into his radio. On the center monitor, Mia watched Dante emerge from the shadows, pushing a stroller across the open ground toward the warehouse's main entrance. The decoy baby, perfectly weighted, wrapped in Marco's actual blankets, even had a recording device that would play infant sounds if triggered. The warehouse door stood open, light spilling out into the darkness. I don't like this, Leon said.
Too exposed.
They're giving him a clear path in, which means… Trap, Mia finished. You think my mom's even in there? Only one way to find out. Dante stopped 50 feet from the entrance. His voice came through clearly on the audio feed. I'm here. Show me Elena. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then figures emerged from the warehouse, 4 armed men, and between them a woman. Mom, Mia nearly screamed it. Elena looked terrible. Her face was bruised, one eye swollen shut, her clothes torn and dirty. She could barely walk, supported by 2 of the men. But she was alive. There's your babysitter. A voice called out from inside the warehouse, distorted, mechanical, coming through speakers. Still breathing.
For now.
Bring the child forward. Dante pushed the stroller closer. Mia could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hand stayed near his concealed weapon. Let her go first, Dante called out. Then you get the baby. That's not how this works. You bring the child to the exchange point, we verify it's real, then we release Elena. The exchange point was marked with a spray-painted X on the concrete, roughly 20 feet from the warehouse entrance. Dante moved forward slowly. The stroller wheels made a soft clicking sound on the uneven ground. Boss, thermals showing 15 hostiles inside, Leon reported quietly. More than we expected. Should we abort? Negative. Dante's voice crackled back. We're committed. Mia watched her mother's face on the monitor. Elena was trying to stay conscious, trying to look around, assess the situation. Even beaten and broken, she was still fighting. Dante reached the exchange point and stopped. She walks to me first. Then you can check the baby. You're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you. I can walk away right now, and you've got nothing. A pause. Then, fine. Release the woman. The men holding Elena shoved her forward. She stumbled, nearly fell, caught herself. Started limping toward Dante, each step clearly agonizing. Mom, come on, Mia whispered at the screen. You can make it. Elena was halfway to Dante when everything exploded. The ground beneath Dante erupted in flame and thunder. The explosion threw him backward, the stroller disintegrating into burning fragments. On the monitors, chaos, men shouting, guns firing, thermal signatures scattering in all directions.
No. Mia screamed.
Leon was already moving, shouting into his radio. All units engage. It's a trap. They've wired the approach. Boss, report. Boss. Static answered. On the screen, Mia watched her mother get grabbed by 2 men and dragged back into the warehouse. Elena was screaming, fighting, trying to reach where Dante had fallen. We have to help them. Mia grabbed Leon's arm. We have to. Stay here. That's an order. Leon pulled out a sidearm and kicked open the van door. Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me or the boss. Understand? But…
Mia.
His eyes were hard. Your mother risked everything to keep you safe. Don't make that meaningless by getting yourself killed. He was gone, running toward the warehouse, weapon raised. Mia sat alone in the van, watching the monitors as gunfire lit up the night. She could see Dante's heat signature moving. He was alive, at least. But pinned down, surrounded. Her mother's screaming came through the audio feed, raw and desperate. Then a new voice, not distorted, spoke clearly. Bring her to the back. We're moving to contingency location. Dante's not dead, which means we need to adjust the plan. Mia's blood froze. She knew that voice. She'd heard it before, weeks ago, when a man came to their apartment asking for her mother. The man had claimed to be from a delivery service, bringing a package. Her mother had seemed nervous, sent him away quickly. Mia hadn't thought much of it at the time, but she recognized the voice now. That's Rossetti's driver, she whispered to the empty van. The one who used to deliver our groceries when we lived on Camden Street. Before we moved. Before Mom took the job with Dante. Her mind raced. The man had known where they lived, had access to their routines, had probably been watching them for months, gathering information, waiting for the right moment to strike. And her mother had recognized him too. That's why she'd seemed nervous. Mia looked at the monitors. Dante and his men were engaged in a firefight at the warehouse entrance. Leon was coordinating teams, trying to breach from multiple directions. No one was watching the back of the building, where they were taking her mother. Don't make that meaningless by getting yourself killed, Leon had said. But what good was staying alive if her mother died? Mia made a decision that was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. She grabbed a flashlight from the equipment rack, unlocked the van door, and slipped out into the night. The warehouse was a quarter-mile away. She could hear gunfire, see muzzle flashes, could smell smoke and cordite on the wind. She ran, not toward the front where the battle raged, but around the side, through the maze of stacked shipping containers that lined the docks. Her sneakers made soft sounds on the concrete. Her breathing came in sharp gasps. A cargo ship's horn moaned somewhere in the harbor, low and mournful. Mia reached the back of the warehouse and pressed herself against the corrugated metal wall. Voices carried from around the corner, men arguing about which vehicle to use, whether to kill Elena now or keep her alive as continued leverage. Just shoot her and dump the body, one man said. She's served her purpose. Boss wants her alive until we're clear, another responded. You want to explain to Rossetti why you disobeyed orders. Rossetti. So Carmine was here, orchestrating everything. Mia peered around the corner. 3 men stood near a black SUV, and between them, her mother slumped against the vehicle, barely conscious. No way Mia could take 3 armed men. No way she could fight them or intimidate them or... Her hand touched something in her jacket pocket. The flare. She'd grabbed it from Leon's van days ago, forgotten it was there until now. Flares were bright, blindingly bright, might by a few seconds. It was a terrible plan, but it was the only plan she had. Mia struck the flare against the wall. It ignited with a hissing roar, brilliant red light flooding the area like a miniature sun. What the? The men turned, momentarily blinded, hands raised to shield their eyes. Mia threw the flare at their feet and screamed, "Mom, run." Then she ran herself, not away but toward them, betting everything on surprise and chaos. One of the men fired blindly. The bullet whined past Mia's head, close enough to feel the air displacement. But her mother moved. Despite the pain, despite the exhaustion, Elena launched herself away from the SUV, stumbling toward Mia. You stupid girl.
Elena Sobed.
Why did you come? Because you're my mom. They grabbed each other and ran, stumbling together into the maze of containers. Behind them, men shouted and gave chase. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, Mia could hear more gunfire, more chaos. She had no idea if they'd make it out alive, but at least they'd face it together. The explosion threw Dante backward 15 feet. His ears rang, vision blurred, tasting copper and smoke. Above him, the warehouse ceiling groaned, steel beams twisting from the blast. Somewhere in the chaos, men were shouting, gunfire cracking like thunder. Leon's voice cut through the ringing. Boss, move. Dante rolled left as bullets chewed into the concrete where he'd been lying. His ribs screamed, probably cracked from the fall. He grabbed his gun and scrambled behind a shipping container, trying to orient himself. The decoy stroller lay in pieces 20 feet away, burning. They'd triggered the floor charges the moment he approached the exchange point. If he'd actually brought Marco, his son would be dead. Status. Dante shouted into his radio. East team pinned down, came Tony's voice. They've got heavy weapons, boss. This isn't just a snatch job. They came prepared for war. West team moving in, another voice reported. But they've got, Jesus, they've got. The radio went silent. Dante's jaw clenched. He'd brought 8 men, his best fighters. But whoever Paolo had hired brought an army. Movement flickered in the shadows above. Dante fired 3 times. Someone screamed and fell from a catwalk, hitting the ground with a wet thud. The body rolled into the light. Not one of Paolo's soldiers. One of his own men. Shot from behind. We've got a traitor in our ranks. Leon's voice crackled urgently. Someone's picking us off from inside. Before Dante could respond, lights flooded the warehouse floor. Temporary floods, positioned strategically, turning the space into a killing ground with no shadows to hide in. And there, across the open floor, stood Carmine Rossetti. The man looked older than Dante remembered, gaunt, hollow-eyed, like something that crawled out of a grave. He wore an expensive suit that hung wrong on his frame, and in his hand he held a radio.
Surprise, Dante.
Carmine's voice boomed through speakers positioned around the warehouse. Did you really think I'd help you? After what you did to me? After you destroyed everything I built? Dante's mind raced. The phone call, the blueprints, the help. All of it had been a setup. You and Paolo, Dante called out, buying time. You're working together. Working together? Please, Carmine laughed, bitter and sharp. Paolo works for me. Has for the past year. Ever since you threw me out. I've been planning this. Slow, careful, patient. Every dollar I had left went into placing my people inside your operation. Paolo was easy, promised him a bigger cut, told him he deserved respect. Greedy little rats sold you out in a heartbeat. From behind a column, Paolo Benedetti emerged. The accountant looked nervous, sweating despite the cool night air. He avoided Dante's eyes. Where's Elena? Dante demanded. Oh, she's here. Safe and sound. Carmine gestured toward the back of the warehouse. But here's the thing, Dante. I don't actually want your son. I never did. What I want is you.
Dead.
Humiliated.
Destroyed.
The baby was just bait to get you here, isolated, vulnerable. The recordings, Dante said slowly, understanding crystallizing. Elena's recordings mentioned Paolo, but you made sure we'd find them. You wanted me to know who betrayed me. Exactly. Because paranoia is a beautiful weapon. I wanted you suspicious of everyone, making mistakes, rushing into traps. Carmine's smile was cruel. And look, here you are. You came charging in like a hero, and now you're going to die like a fool. Gunfire erupted from 3 directions simultaneously. Dante dove behind the container as bullets sparked off metal. He could hear his men returning fire, but they were outnumbered, outpositioned. Then, from somewhere near the back of the warehouse, a voice screamed, Mom. Dante's blood froze.
Mia.
The girl had followed them. Somehow, despite his orders, despite the guards, she'd followed them into this hellhole. Well, Carmine's laugh echoed. Even better. Bring the girl here. 2 men dragged Mia into the light. She fought hard, landing a solid kick that made one man grunt, but they were too strong. They forced her to her knees next to a metal chair where Elena sat bound, face bruised and bloody, but alive.
Mia, no. Elena Sobed.
Why did you come? Why? I couldn't leave you. Mia's voice cracked with desperation. Carmine walked over and pressed a gun to Elena's temple. Here's the new deal, Dante. You come out unarmed, hands up, or I kill the mother right now while the daughter watches. Then I kill the daughter. Then I hunt down your son and kill him too. Your choice. Dante's mind worked furiously. His men were pinned. Mia and Elena were exposed. He was trapped in a kill box with no good options. The radio crackled. Leon's voice, barely a whisper. Boss, I'm in position in the rafters. I can take Carmine, but it's a 50-50 shot from here. 50-50 wasn't good enough. Not with 2 hostages. Then Dante heard it, a sound that didn't belong. A baby crying. But not from a speaker. Not from the decoy. From somewhere deeper in the warehouse, electronic and tinny. A recording playing on loop. The same recording he'd given Leon to plant in a secondary container as a distraction, in case things went wrong. Carmine heard it too. His head snapped toward the sound, confusion crossing his face. What the hell is that? Sounds like your intel wasn't as good as you thought, Dante called out. The baby's here after all. Your men must have found the real hiding spot. It was a bluff, but it worked. Carmine gestured sharply to 3 soldiers. Go check it out.
Now.
The men moved toward the crying sound, leaving the hostages less guarded. Mia met Dante's eyes across the warehouse floor. Then, with deliberate slowness, she reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a flare. The girl must have grabbed it from Leon's surveillance van. Dante's breath caught. Did she know what she was doing? Carmine turned back toward the hostages, raising his gun again. Last chance, Dante. Mia struck the flare against the floor. It ignited in a burst of brilliant red light, so bright it turned night into day. Men shouted, temporarily blinded. Elena threw herself sideways, chair and all, pulling away from Carmine's gun. And Dante moved. He burst from cover, firing as he ran. One of Carmine's soldiers went down. Another. Leon's sniper shot cracked from above, not at Carmine, but at the temporary floodlights. Glass exploded, plunging sections of the warehouse back into darkness. Dante reached Mia and Elena, sliding behind them as cover. He cut Elena's bonds with a knife from his belt while bullets whined overhead. Can you run? He asked Elena. She nodded, cradling a clearly broken arm. Then run. Both of you. Storm drain back corner, 200 feet that direction, he pointed. Go now. What about you? Mia asked. I'm ending this. But Carmine was already moving, disappearing deeper into the warehouse, using his remaining soldiers as shields. Paolo followed, the accountant scrambling to keep up with his boss. All units, converge on my position. Dante barked into the radio. Hostages are mobile, heading for extraction. I'm going after Ossetti. Leon's voice. Boss, the place is wired to blow. If they trigger it, then we'd better move fast. Dante ran after Carmine, leaving the main floor behind, plunging into the maze of corridors and storage rooms that made up the warehouse's deeper sections. Behind him, Mia's voice echoed. Thank you. Ahead, Carmine's mocking laughter beckoned him forward. Into the dark. Into the final confrontation. The back sections of the warehouse were a labyrinth of rusted catwalks, stacked shipping containers, and narrow passages barely wide enough for one man. Dante moved through the darkness, gun raised, following the sound of running footsteps ahead. Carmine was heading toward the waterline, the loading docks where boats once unloaded contraband under cover of night. If he reached a vessel, he'd disappear into the harbor and Dante would lose him forever. That couldn't happen. You can't run forever, Carmine. Dante's voice echoed off metal walls. Laughter drifted back. I'm not running, Dante. I'm leading. A trap. Of course it was a trap. Dante slowed his pace, scanning the shadows. Containers were stacked 3 high on either side, creating narrow corridors perfect for ambushes. The air smelled of salt water, oil, and decay. Then he heard it again, the crying baby sound louder now. The recording Leon had planted. It was coming from somewhere ahead, among the containers. Carmine heard it too. His footsteps stopped. What kind of game are you playing? Carmine's voice had lost its mocking edge, replaced by suspicion. Dante said nothing, using the silence to advance position. He reached a corner and peered around it. 50 feet ahead, Carmine stood with Paolo beside a yellow container, both men staring at a portable speaker sitting on the ground, playing Marco's recorded cries on repeat. It's a decoy, Paolo hissed. The baby's not here. We need to move. Shut up. Let me think. Carmine raised his gun, pointing it at the speaker like it might attack. That's when Dante saw movement behind them, a flash of dark hair, a small figure darting between containers.
Mia.
The girl hadn't evacuated. She'd followed him deeper into the warehouse, tracking the sound of her mother's captors. Brave and absolutely foolish. Carmine spotted her at the same moment. His gun swung toward her. Well, look who couldn't stay away. Come here, girl. Slowly. Mia emerged from the shadows, hands raised, but her eyes were searching, looking for an advantage, an escape. She was terrified but thinking, still fighting. I said come here. Carmine grabbed her roughly when she got close enough, pressing the gun to her head. Dante, I know you're watching. Show yourself or the girl dies. 3 seconds. 1. Wait. Mia's voice cracked. Please, I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt my mom. She's already free, right? You don't need me. 2. I can get you the real baby. Mia blurted out. I know where he is. Dante told me. I can take you there, I swear, just please. 3. Dante stepped into the open, gun pointed directly at Carmine's head. Let her go. This is between us. Finally, Carmine smiled, but kept Mia locked against him as a shield. Drop the gun, or I paint the walls with her brain. You kill her. You lose your leverage. I've got plenty of leverage. I've got explosives wired throughout this building. I've got men surrounding your remaining soldiers. And I've got nothing left to lose. Do you? Dante's finger tensed on the trigger. The shot was possible, difficult, but possible. Carmine's head was partially exposed, just enough. But if Dante missed by an inch, Mia died. Paolo, standing to the side, looked increasingly nervous. Carmine, maybe we should just go. We've made our point. The Vescari family is weakened. We can regroup. Shut your mouth, Paolo. Carmine's eyes never left Dante. I'm not leaving until I finish this. That's when Mia moved. She drove her elbow backward into Carmine's ribs, not hard enough to escape, but enough to make him flinch. His gun dipped away from her head for a fraction of a second. Dante fired. The bullet caught Carmine in the shoulder, spinning him away from Mia. She dropped and rolled, scrambling for cover behind a container. Carmine roared, returning fire wildly. Bullets sparked off metal, ricocheting in dangerous patterns.
Paolo ran.
The accountant bolted deeper into the dock area, abandoning his boss without a second thought. Dante let him go. He'd deal with Paolo later. Right now, Carmine was the threat. You shot me. Carmine clutched his bleeding shoulder, his gun arm weakened, but still functional. You actually shot me. I spared you, Dante said coldly, advancing. The next one goes through your skull. Not before I bring this whole place down. Carmine pulled something from his pocket, a dead man's switch connected to a radio detonator. I let go of this button, we all die. Every explosive in this building goes off. You, me, the girl, your remaining men, everyone. Dante stopped. You'd kill yourself just to take me down? In a heartbeat. You took everything from me, Dante. My territory, my respect, my future. I've got nothing left but revenge. Behind a container, Dante could see Mia's reflection in a puddle of water. She was crawling toward something, the speaker still playing Marco's cries. Smart girl. She had a plan. Dante kept Carmine talking. Paolo betrayed you, you know. He cut a deal with my brother 3 days ago. Promised to give you up in exchange for immunity. That's how we knew you were behind this. It was a complete lie, but it worked. Confusion and fury crossed Carmine's face. Paolo wouldn't. He knows I'd kill him. He's smarter than you gave him credit for. He's been playing both sides. You're lying. Am I? Then why did he run the second shooting started? Why didn't he stay and fight beside you? Carmine's face twisted. His grip on the dead man's switch loosened slightly as rage overtook caution. And Mia threw the speaker. It sailed through the air, landing at Carmine's feet, the recorded crying suddenly amplified in the enclosed space. Carmine looked down instinctively. Dante shot him through the shoulder of his gun arm. Carmine's weapon clattered to the ground. He screamed, stumbling backward, but his thumb stayed pressed on the detonator switch. I'll do it. Spittle flew from his lips. I'll kill us all. No, said a voice from behind him. You won't. Elena Santos stood there, face bruised, arm in a makeshift sling, but holding a piece of rebar like a club. She must have circled back through the waterline entrance. Before Carmine could react, she swung hard. The rebar connected with his head with a sickening crack. Carmine dropped like a puppet with cut strings, his thumb finally releasing the detonator button. Nothing happened.
No explosions.
No fire. The warehouse stood silent except for the gentle lapping of water against the docks. Elena swayed, nearly collapsing. Mia ran to her mother, catching her before she fell.
Mom.
You're supposed to be evacuating. And miss the chance to hit the man who tortured me? Elena's laugh was weak but genuine. Not in this lifetime, baby. Dante approached Carmine's unconscious body and kicked the detonator away. He examined it briefly, then looked up at the two women. It's a fake. No wireless signal. No actual connection. He was bluffing. Still felt good, Elena said. Leon's voice crackled over the radio. Boss, we've secured the warehouse. Carmine's remaining soldiers surrendered when they realized their boss was gone. And we found Paolo trying to swim away from the docks. Pulled him out of the water half-drowned. What are your orders? Dante looked at Elena and Mia, both battered but alive, holding each other like they'd never let go. Bring Paolo to the vault, Dante said quietly. And someone call a medic for Elena. She's earned the best care we can provide. He walked to where Carmine lay bleeding and unconscious. 20 years of rivalry, of hatred, of war, ended with a piece of rebar and a mother's fury. Is it over? Mia asked, her voice small. Dante holstered his gun and looked at the girl who'd thrown herself into danger repeatedly to save the people she loved. It's over, he confirmed. But they all knew the truth. In his world, it was never really over. There were always consequences. The off-the-books clinic occupied the top floor of a building Dante owned in the financial district, officially listed as executive offices, actually equipped with surgical suites and medical staff who knew when to keep their mouths shut. Elena lay in a hospital bed, her left arm in a proper cast now, the bruises on her face turning purple and yellow, and 4 dripped pain medication into her system. She'd been here for 14 hours, sleeping mostly, waking occasionally to ask for Mia. Her daughter hadn't left her side once. Dante stood in the doorway, watching them. Mia sat curled in a chair pulled close to the bed, holding her mother's good hand, her eyes red-rimmed from crying and exhaustion. The girl had finally changed clothes. Leon had brought her things from home. But she still looked fragile, like one strong wind might break her. How is she? Dante asked the doctor, a gray-haired woman named Dr. Reeves who'd patched up more bullet wounds than she'd probably admit in polite company. Broken arm, 3 cracked ribs, severe bruising, mild dehydration. They worked her over pretty good, Dr. Reeves kept her voice low. But nothing permanent. She'll heal. The psychological trauma, though, that's not my department. Thank you. Send the bill to my personal account. Already done, Mr. Vescari. Elena's eyes fluttered open as Dante approached. She tried to sit up, but Mia gently pushed her back down. Rest, Mom. Please.
Can't rest.
Me too. Elena's gaze found Dante.
Marco.
Is he safe?
He's fine.
30 guards on rotation. Location changed every 6 hours. No one's getting near him. Elena nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. I'm so sorry. I should have told you about the threats immediately. I thought I could handle it, thought I could protect everyone, but You kept my son alive when trained professionals failed, Dante interrupted. You protected him even while being tortured. You have nothing to apologize for. But I let them in. I gave them the codes. Under duress, to protect your daughter. I would have done the same. He pulled up a chair and sat down. Paolo and Carmine played you. They knew exactly which pressure points to hit. That's not weakness. That's them understanding how much you love Mia. Mia squeezed her mother's hand. Mr. Vescari's right, Mom. You did everything you could. Elena looked between them, then asked the question Dante knew was coming. What happens now? To us? Before he could answer, raised voices echoed from down the hallway. The door burst open and 4 of his lieutenants strode in, Vinny, Fat Tommy, Ray, and Tony. Marcus and Leon followed, trying to calm them down. This is a private medical facility, Dr. Reeves started. We need to talk to the boss, Vinny said, his voice hard.
Now.
Dante stood slowly, positioning himself between his men and the bed. You have something to say it. But lower your voices. There's an injured woman here. That woman nearly got you killed. Vinny shot back. She compromised security, leaked information, led you into a trap. And now you're paying for her medical care? Protecting her like she's family? She was tortured for 3 days rather than give up Marco's location. Show some respect. Respect. Fat Tommy shook his head. Boss, we respect you. But the word's already out on the street. Dante Vescari got played by his babysitter. Our enemies are laughing. They think you've gone soft. Let them laugh. Dante's voice dropped to a dangerous quiet. While they're laughing, I'll be hunting down everyone connected to this. Carmine's network, Paolo's contacts, anyone who knew about the plan and stayed silent. By the time I'm done, they'll understand exactly how soft I am. Ray Costello stepped forward. He was the oldest of the group, the most experienced. We're not questioning your strength, boss. But there are rules. Elena and her daughter know too much about the safe house, about Marco, about our operations. They're liabilities. In this business, liabilities get eliminated. It's how we've survived for 50 years. Times change. Not that much. They don't. Ray's expression was grim, but not unkind. You protect these two, you set a precedent. Every civilian who works for us will think they can make mistakes and get a pass. It undermines everything. Marcus moved to Dante's side. They have a point, brother. I don't like it, but they're not wrong. We need to think about the bigger picture. Dante looked at his brother, then at his lieutenants, men he'd fought beside, trusted with his life. They were right about the precedent. In their world, mercy was often mistaken for weakness. But sometimes being strong meant making the harder choice. Here's what's going to happen, Dante said, his voice carrying absolute authority. Elena and Mia Santos are under my personal protection. Anyone who touches them, threatens them, or even looks at them wrong will answer directly to me. Elena will receive a new identity, a new home, and enough money to start fresh wherever she chooses. Mia will have her college education paid for in full. Boss, Vinny started. I'm not finished. Dante's eyes swept the room. You want to talk about precedent?
Fine.
Here's the new precedent. Loyalty matters. Elena could have given up Marco's location immediately and saved herself days of torture. She didn't. Her daughter could have run when things got dangerous. She didn't. They chose to protect what was mine, even when everyone else failed. He pointed at Tony. Your security rotation missed a 4-minute blackout. You, specifically, were responsible for vetting the personnel. Where were you? Tony's face reddened. There was a miscommunication. A miscommunication that nearly cost my son his life. Dante turned to Fat Tommy. You vouched for Paolo. Said he was trustworthy. That his loyalty was absolute. How did that work out? Fat Tommy looked at his shoes. And Vinny, Dante's voice could have cut steel. You told me 3 months ago that Carmine Rossetti was definitely dead, that your sources confirmed it. Yet he just tried to kill me very much alive. So before any of you lecture me about liabilities, maybe look at your own failures. Silence fell like a hammer. The Santos family protected my heir when every single one of you failed, Dante continued. When our security fell apart, when our intelligence was compromised, when our most trusted advisor turned traitor, they stood firm. That's worth more than following old rules. Ray nodded slowly. You're right. We failed you, boss. We should have caught Paolo's betrayal earlier. We all should have, Marcus added quietly. Vinny still looked rebellious, but even he couldn't argue with the facts.
There's one more thing, Dante said.
Mia doesn't just get protection and money. She gets a position. When she's ready, when she's older, if she chooses, she'll have a place in our family. Not as staff. As someone under my direct authority. You're making her what, exactly? Fat Tommy asked, confused. Marco's guardian. When he's old enough to understand, he'll know that Mia Santos saved his life before she even knew him. That kind of loyalty should be recognized, rewarded, and remembered. Elena sat up despite Mia's protests, tears streaming down her face. Mr. Vescari, you don't have to.
Ida.
Because if we don't reward the people who actually deserve it, what kind of family are we? He looked at his men. Now get out. All of you. Elena needs rest, and I'm tired of hearing complaints. The lieutenants filed out, subdued. Marcus lingered by the door. You know some of them won't accept this, he said quietly. They'll see it as weakness. Then they can leave. I'm not running the family the way our father did, through fear alone. That's what got Carmine Rossetti exiled and bitter enough to plan this whole revenge scheme. Fear without loyalty just breeds enemies. Marcus smiled slightly. Father would have had them both killed. Father died alone, shot by someone he trusted, because he never understood the difference between respect and terror. Dante walked to the window overlooking the city. I'm building something different. I hope you're right, brother.
So do I.
After everyone left, Dante turned back to Elena and Mia. Get some rest. Both of you. Leon will station guards outside, not to watch you, but to keep you safe. When you're ready to leave, we'll discuss details. Mr. Vescari, Mia said softly. Thank you. For everything. He nodded once, then walked out, closing the door behind him. In the hallway, Leon waited with a tablet. Paolo's ready for questioning in the vault. And Carmine's in the medical wing, under heavy guard. What do you want done with them? Dante's expression hardened, all the mercy from moments ago vanishing like morning fog. Carmine lives long enough to see his entire network dismantled. Then he disappears. Permanently. And Paolo. Paolo betrayed 20 years of trust for money. Make sure his last hours teach him why that was a mistake. Leon nodded and walked away. Dante stood alone in the hallway, carrying the weight of choices made and prices paid. His father would have called him weak. But his son would grow up knowing that Dante Vescari protected those who deserved protection. And destroyed those who didn't. That was a legacy worth building. 5 days later, the city looked the same, but felt different. Dante stood on his penthouse rooftop at sunset, watching the harbor where cargo ships moved like slow-motion chess pieces across darkening water. The air smelled of salt and gasoline, tinged with the first hint of autumn cold. Behind him, the rooftop door opened. Small footsteps approached, accompanied by the soft coo of an infant. He missed you, Mia said, holding Marco carefully. Wouldn't stop fussing until I said we were coming up here. Dante turned and took his son, holding him close. Marco grabbed at his father's tie, gurgling happily. The baby had no idea how close he'd come to being stolen, hurt, used as a weapon. He just knew his father's smell, his father's voice. Innocence was a gift. Dante would kill to preserve it. How's your mother? He asked. Better. The nightmares are still bad, but Dr. Reeves says that's normal. She's talking about the new house you arranged. Keeps saying it's too much. It's not enough, Dante bounced Marco gently. I'm also establishing a trust fund. For both of you. Whatever happens to me, you'll be protected financially. Mia sat on the edge of a planter, pulling her jacket tighter against the breeze. She looked different now, still young, but with something harder in her eyes. The past week had aged her in ways that couldn't be measured in years. Mom wants to leave the city, Mia said quietly. Start fresh somewhere nobody knows us. Maybe California or Oregon. Somewhere quiet. I understand, but I don't want to go. Dante looked at her.
Mia.
I know what you're going to say. That I should go with her, finish school, live a normal life. But I can't just forget everything that happened. Can't pretend I didn't see what I saw, learn what I learned. Mia met his eyes. You offered me a position. Did you mean it?
I did.
But not now. You're 16. You should be worried about homework and college applications, not your world. Mia's smile was sad. Mr. Vescari, I've been in your world since my mom took that job. I just didn't know it. Now I do, and I can't unknow it.
So teach me.
Train me. Let me understand it properly instead of being some scared civilian who gets caught in the crossfire. Your mother would never agree. My mother almost died protecting your son. She understands better than anyone how dangerous it is to be unprepared. Mia stood, walking to the rooftop edge. I'm not saying I want to be a criminal, but I want to be able to protect myself. Protect her. Be useful instead of being someone who needs protection. Dante considered this. The girl had a point. In his world, ignorance was often more dangerous than knowledge. There's a boarding school in Vermont, he said slowly. Exclusive, expensive, Teaches normal subjects, but also self-defense, languages, strategic thinking. Some very powerful families send their children there. People who understand the world isn't always safe or fair. You could finish high school there, then decide what you want your future to look like. You'd pay for that. I'd invest in that. There's a difference. Mia thought about it, watching the sun dip lower. And Mom? Your mother gets the quiet life she's earned. New identity, new city, full protection. You visit during holidays and summers. In 4 years, when you're 20 and educated and trained, then you decide if you still want to be part of this. And if I do, then you'll have a place. Not as a soldier or an enforcer, you're not built for that. But as someone who understands both worlds, civilian and criminal. Someone who can move between them. That's valuable. Below them, the city lights began flickering on, creating constellations of amber and white. Somewhere down there, Leon was wrapping up the final cleanup from Carmine's network. Paolo's execution had been quick, relatively merciful compared to what the accountant deserved. Carmine himself had simply vanished, his body weighted and dropped into the deepest part of the harbor where it would never surface. The families that once laughed at Dante's weakness had gone very quiet after word spread about what happened to traitors. The lieutenants are still angry, Mia observed. I heard Vinny talking to Fat Tommy yesterday. They think you've changed the rules too much. I have changed the rules. And if they can't adapt, they're welcome to leave. Dante shifted Marco to his other arm. My father ruled through fear alone. It made him powerful, but also alone. When he died, nobody mourned him. They just started fighting over his territory.
I won't end that way.
What way will you end? It was a bold question, almost rude. But Dante appreciated her directness. I'll end knowing my son grows up protected, educated, and understanding that power, without honor, is just violence. That loyalty should be earned, not extorted. That sometimes the strongest thing you can do is show mercy to people who deserve it. That's not very Mafia boss of you. Dante laughed, a real laugh, rare and genuine. No, I suppose it's not. Maybe I'm a terrible Mafia boss. Or maybe you're a different kind, Mia said. The kind people follow because they believe in you, not because they're afraid. That seems more dangerous, actually. Why? Because fear fades when the scary thing leaves the room. Belief stays even when you're gone.
It spreads.
It grows. It builds something that lasts. Smart kid. Smarter than most of his lieutenants. Marco yawned, his tiny face scrunching up, exhausted from the excitement of being outside. Dante kissed his son's forehead, breathing in that innocent baby smell. Go talk to your mother, he told Mia. Discuss the school, the move, what you both want. Whatever you decide, you have my support. Thank you, Mr. Vescari. Call me Dante. You've earned that much. Mia smiled, the first real smile he'd seen from her since this nightmare began. She headed for the door, then paused. The city's talking, about how you protected us. How you changed the rules. They're calling you something new. What's that? The boss who keeps his word, she shrugged. It's better than what they called Carmine. After she left, Dante stood alone with his son, watching night claim the city completely. Somewhere out there, rivals were planning their next moves. Allies were reconsidering their positions. The balance of power was shifting in ways he couldn't fully predict. But for the first time in his life, Dante Vescari wasn't just building an empire of fear. He was building something people might actually fight to preserve instead of tear down. Marco grabbed his father's finger and held on tight. You're going to grow up different, Dante promised quietly. You'll know strength and mercy, power and compassion. You'll understand that real leadership isn't about making people afraid. It's about making them believe in something worth protecting. The baby made a soft sound, already drifting toward sleep. Below, the city hummed with 1,000 stories, crimes being committed, families eating dinner, lovers meeting in secret, old men dying and babies being born. The endless cycle of human life, beautiful and terrible and infinitely complicated. And somewhere in that chaos, 2 women, a mother and daughter who'd shown more courage than trained soldiers, were starting to plan a future that didn't involve looking over their shoulders every moment. Dante had given them that gift. It was the first of many he intended to give. The old rules were dead, burned away in the fire of Carmine's hatred and Paolo's betrayal. The new rules were simple. Loyalty would be rewarded. Betrayal would be destroyed. And anyone who protected what Dante Vescari loved would become what he protected in return. It wasn't traditional. It wasn't how his father would have done things. But as the city lights reflected in Marco's sleepy eyes, Dante knew one thing with absolute certainty. His son would inherit something better than an empire built on corpses. He would inherit a legacy built on the revolutionary idea that in a world of monsters, the most dangerous thing you could be was someone who actually kept their promises. And that terrified his enemies more than any amount of violence ever could. The rumors were already spreading through the underworld like wildfire. Dante Vescari had begun choosing loyalty over fear, which meant the game had changed. And everyone who wanted to survive had better learn the new rules fast.
The end.